Welcome to the deep dive. You sent us a link, and we're going to unpack it for you, pulling out the crucial insights so you can get up to speed quickly. Today, that link is to a YouTube video from the channel Cypheria. It's titled, Schopenhauer's Shocking Dark Truth, about why some women never grow up, the eternal girl explained.
Quite a title.
Yeah, it really grabs your attention, doesn't it? And it doesn't pull any punches. Right at the start, there's this quote, "Women are animals with long hair and short ideas."
Oof. Yeah, that's immediately provocative. You can see why people would react strongly.
Absolutely. But our goal here isn't just to react or, dismiss it outright. We want to delve into the ideas presented, however uncomfortable they might feel.
Right, to see what's underneath that initial shock. The video seems to use Schopenhauer to explore themes of desire, heartbreak,
And eventually, maybe taking back some control. Personal empowerment, perhaps.
Exactly. It's important to acknowledge that initial quote is jarring, definitely. But as we dig into the video's take on Schopenhauer, it frames statements like that not just as random misogyny, but as something stemming from his own intense personal suffering.
Okay.
And a very specific, very pessimistic philosophical lens he developed about human desire and relationships.
Okay, let's get into that lens then. The video calls Arthur Schopenhauer a dark genius. Says he was really shaped by heartbreak, disillusionment.
Yeah, deeply disillusioned with desire itself.
Apparently, he saw love as, and this is another quote, a lie, a trick, a biological trap, dressed in poetry and promises. Pretty brutal stuff.
It really is. And the video suggests this view came from his own life. Romantic rejections, a difficult relationship with his mother, that kind of thing.
Right, so personal experience feeding into this grand, bleak theory.
It seems so. He felt sort of tossed around by his own desires and, well, the choices other people made. This led him to conclude that romantic love isn't really about joy or connection, fundamentally procreation, keeping the species going. The video connects this to that awful feeling you might get when a partner leaves.
Yeah.
And you see their new partner as somehow better or more. Schopenhauer's philosophy, as presented here, tries to explain that feeling of inadequacy.
As part of some, biological script?
Exactly. A bigger, almost predetermined process. Less about you personally, more about biology.
Okay, so this biological trap idea. The video brings in Schopenhauer's concept of the will to live. What is that exactly? How does it connect to this cynical view of romance?
So the will to live, in Schopenhauer's thought, is this fundamental, non-rational, relentless striving force. He thought it was behind everything, all of existence, all our actions, our urges.
Everything.
Yeah. And the video argues that, from this perspective, falling in love, that intense feeling, isn't some unique, special bond we like to imagine.
Uh-oh. What is it then?
It's the will basically hijacking our mind.
Hijacking for what purpose?
Reproduction. That intense focus, that longing, maybe even the irrationality of it. The video suggests Schopenhauer saw it as the will using us.
Using us, like tools.
Pretty much. Yeah. Tools to propagate genes, not as a sign you found the one.
Wow. That really changes how you might look at that initial rush. So things like compatibility, shared values, feeling connected, where do they fit in? Are they just irrelevant?
According to this interpretation, secondary, especially during that initial intense attraction phase.
Okay.
The video emphasizes Schopenhauer's idea that those deeper things come later, if at all. The will's main goal is just getting the genes passed on.
And that emotional high, the in-love feeling.
It's temporary, like a biological reward that fades once the procreative goal is potentially met, which often leads to disillusionment down the line.
Right, the honeymoon phase ending.
Exactly. And the crucial, maybe most chilling part is that Schopenhauer believed this fundamental will is completely indifferent to your individual happiness or growth.
Doesn't care about us.
Nope. Just its own continuation. So for you, the listener, maybe this reframes those powerful early relationship feelings, not as a promise of forever, but as a potentially predictable biological surge.
Does thinking about it that way help manage expectations maybe? Detach a bit?
It could. It's definitely a sobering perspective.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, so following from that, the video gets into hypergamy. It presents it as a natural biological drive in women to choose the best.
Yeah.
Prioritizing safety, resources, potential. How does that fit Schopenhauer's bleak picture?
Well, the video explains hypergamy through an evolutionary lens. Female biology, it argues, is sort of geared towards seeking partners who offer the best odds for survival and well-being, especially for potential children.
Okay, so an evolutionary strategy.
Right. And it's really key that the video frames this not as a conscious choice or a character flaw, but as a deep-seated mechanism related to survival.
Got it. So it's not personal necessarily.
From this viewpoint, yes. That feeling of not being enough, not rich enough, strong enough, whatever, it connects back to this evolutionary pressure.
So when a woman leaves for someone perceived as better in those terms.
The video suggests it might not be a direct rejection of you personally, but more a manifestation of this underlying biological imperative kicking in.
That's hard to swallow, maybe, but I see the logic within this framework.
It is. And it's worth saying, of course, that hypergamy is a concept with lots of debate around it. Sociological factors, culture, they all play huge roles too. The video focuses on this biological interpretation linked to Schopenhauer.
Understood. Okay, this leads to a really important point the video makes about seeking external validation. Basing your worth on being chosen. How does that trap work?
The video argues that if your self-worth hinges entirely on someone else picking you, especially in this arena of powerful biological drives, you essentially become a product.
A product. How so?
You're constantly trying to mold yourself to meet what you think the other person desires. You lose touch with your own core, your own intrinsic value, your autonomy.
Right, you stop being yourself and start performing.
Exactly. Your focus shifts outward. What do they want? Instead of inward, what do I value? What do I want? The video suggests reclaiming your power means shifting that focus back.
Back inside. Defining your own value, regardless of who chooses you.
That's the idea. Reclaiming your personhood, as the video puts it.
Okay. Then the video moves into the birth of male resentment. How feeling discarded in light of all this can breed negativity. This sounds like it ties directly back to Schopenhauer's own life again.
Absolutely. The video explicitly links that feeling of inadequacy, followed by rejection, to the growth of resentment.
Which can look like
Often cynicism, sarcasm, maybe emotional withdrawal. It points directly to Schopenhauer's own experience as the difficult mother, the romantic failures as potential fuel for his pessimism.
So the resentment comes from the pain.
Right. And the critical insight the video offers here is that this resentment, while a very real reaction to hurt, is often rooted in your own unresolved trauma. It's not necessarily an objective truth about women or relationships.
It's a projection of the pain.
Yes. And the video warns against letting that pain distort your whole worldview, turning, half the population into the perceived enemy. Given the feelings of inadequacy tied to these biological drives we discussed, it's maybe not surprising this can curdle into something negative.
Makes sense. But the video doesn't just leave you there in that dark place, right? It talks about a path to empowerment. How do you get out of that cycle?
It pushes for confronting the resentment head on through, real honesty with yourself. Self-awareness.
So instead of focusing on the why did she leave question.
The video suggests asking yourself, why does this rejection still own me so much? Why does it still have this hold?
Turning the question inward again.
Exactly. The goal is to reclaim that psychic energy, all the focus and emotion being poured into the resentment, and redirect it.
Towards what?
Towards your own growth.
Yeah.
Self-development, becoming whole on your own terms, not to impress anyone else or win someone back.
A quiet revolution, the video calls it. Building self-worth from the inside out.
Precisely, independent of external validation.
Okay, this feels related to the next bit. The good man's crisis. That frustration some men feel trying to be kind, loyal, supportive, but still facing projection. I think a lot of people listening might recognize that feeling.
Oh, for sure. It's a common and painful experience. The video tackles this head-on, suggesting that, unfortunately, being good is not the same as being wanted.
Ouch. What does that mean?
It means that while kindness and loyalty are valuable, desire itself is often sparked by something else. Something more like energy, presence, having your own sense of purpose.
So being nice isn't always enough for attraction.
Not always, according to this perspective. And the video suggests that if you build your entire identity around pleasing a partner, you might actually diminish the very things that made you attractive in the first place, your independence, your passions.
The paradox of trying too hard.
Kind of. And it strongly warns against the common reactions to this kind of rejection, bitterness, revenge thoughts, trying to manipulate or control the situation. That just keeps you stuck.
So if you're in that good man crisis, what's the constructive alternative? The video mentions reclaiming masculine energy. What does that look like practically?
Yeah, and it's important how the video frames that. It's not about being macho or aggressive.
Okay.
It's more about cultivating your own internal drive.
Yeah.
Your own fire, so to speak, pursuing your passions, your goals, making choices from your own values.
Choosing yourself, basically.
Yes, choosing yourself independent of needing someone else's approval, it reframes rejection too, not as this devastating judgment on your worth,
Or as,
maybe a wake-up call, a catalyst to live more authentically, more fully for yourself.
so identifying parts of yourself you've maybe suppressed to please others.
Exactly. Have you put hobbies aside, ignored your own needs? The video encourages you to, like, meet yourself again. Start living from your internal compass, not just reacting to external pressures.
That feels more empowering. Finally, the video brings up transcending the pain. It contrasts Schopenhauer's path, bitterness, nihilism, with Nietzsche's idea of amor fati. How is that a better way forward?
Right, so Schopenhauer reacted to suffering by basically concluding life is meaningless and relationships are a sham. Nietzsche, with amor fati, which means love of one's fate, offered a different response.
Loving your fate, even the bad parts.
Yes. Embracing everything, the pain included, as necessary for growth. Not resisting it, not becoming bitter because of it, but using it.
Using the pain.
By letting it forge you. The video suggests that real strength, purpose, your core values, they are often built through navigating difficulty, not by avoiding it.
So don't just endure pain, but transform because of it.
That's the essence. Become your own source of value, your own anchor. Stop orbiting around the need for someone else's validation or love.
In a partner leaving.
It's not the final word on who you are. The video presents it more as a revelation, showing you where your power needs to be reclaimed, where you need to build yourself up independently.
So don't wait for closure or fantasize about getting back together.
No. Focus on building your life right now on your own terms.
Okay, so bringing this all together, this deep dive into the Cypheria video, drawing on Schopenhauer, it presents a really challenging, sometimes uncomfortable view of desire, biology, rejection.
I find challenging.
But underneath that initial shock, the core message seems to be a call to shift your focus away from constantly seeking external approval in relationships.
And towards cultivating inner sovereignty, building a solid sense of self-worth that isn't dependent on others.
Yeah, exactly. The ultimate takeaway feels like true empowerment doesn't come from being chosen by others.
But from becoming whole and free within yourself, it really encourages you, the listener, to reflect on these ideas. How do they land with you? How might they connect to your own experiences? Maybe they offer a new lens on relationships and self-worth.
A really powerful final thought there. Maybe the real journey isn't about waiting to be chosen, but about choosing yourself fully. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.